Nearly every time we publish a press release on the website about a new gravel bike that might have a suspension fork, a lot of people say, it's just an old school mountain bike. But is that really a bad thing? Well, we've come out to the Quantocks to ride the Quantocks Killer Loop to find out. All right, so there is a reason why we've come to the Quantocks to ride the Killer Loop. Two, actually. Quantocks Killer Loop is a pretty old school loop in itself. The term was kind of coined by MBR in about 2006, and the whole loop spans 30 kilometers around basically the perimeter of the Quantocks. And back in the day, it was ridden on an old school mountain bike, so where best to try a new school gravel bike than old school mountain bike tracks. There's also something else about the Quantocks I want to talk about. It has a special place in my heart. The Quantocks is where I started mountain biking. I didn't grow up riding these trails, but for the past like 10 years, this is where I've been riding weekend in, weekend out. There's an excellent progression within the kind of trails that the Quantocks has on offer. If you look over there, you've got Triscombe Stone, which is a bit radder, bit more progressive, kind of downhill winch and plummet kind of riding, whereas you can very easily do gravel over on this side of the hills where, you know, look what's behind me, that's definitely gravel. And then yeah, you can step things up a little bit where you can go into cross-country land and kind of do what we're about to do today, which is ride this gravel bike over something that's perhaps a little bit more than gravel. Let's get on with the ride, and a little bit later I'll talk to you about this bike a little bit. All right, so before we get into some riding to decide whether or not gravel is actually old school mountain bike, I want to show you my bike, and it's kind of an old school mountain bike. So this is the Boardman TRVL. It's kind of more aggressive, more progressive gravel bike, something to go far and wide on basically. And what sets it apart and kind of what gave this bike some criticism when it was released was the fact that it's running the RockShox Rudy suspension fork. That gives it about 40 mil of travel at the front. I'm running quite a lot of pressure into it, so it's not giving me all of that travel, and I'm running the rebound real quick, just to kind of make things a bit more comfortable, give me a bit more front wheel grip, and make braking a lot better. And I love a suspension fork on a gravel bike. Makes so much sense. I mean, these things are built to go off-road. Why not make its off-road capabilities a bit better? Elsewhere on the bike, we've got some lovely Yurlio Pro C 45 wheels. They're kind of deep section rims, so I'm kind of deviating from the mountain bikey gravel bike here with some kind of aerodynamic rims. Apparently they're 40 mil deep, about 27 mil internal width, and they're carbon fiber, so they don't weigh much at all. On those, I've got a pair of 40C tyres from Vittoria, and this is loaded with Granite kit. So if you don't know Granite Designs, they're a pretty cool brand that do a lot of things that are designed to help riders have a better time on the bike. So at the top here, I've got the Stash Ratchet multi-tool. You can pull it out, it's got a ratchet, it's got all the bits on it, so that's super useful. I love it. I've used it flipping loads. So strapped around the bottom bracket, I've got the torque wrench, just because I can. Why not? As for pedals, I've also got the fun Tactic clipless pedals. They look a little bit worse for wear, but that's a good thing because these are the very pedals that I raced in Iceland last year, and they're still going incredibly strong. At the back, I've got the Quiver tool roll, also from Granite. This is carrying the Talon tyre levers, CO2 cartridge, an inner tube, just spare little bits and pieces that I don't want to carry on myself. And it straps on with a lovely ATOP dial there. And before I forget, I've got Granite's cricket bell here. It obviously doesn't sound that great because it is strapped onto a bag there. But, you know, when it comes to riding kind of bridleways and places where people walk, it's really important to let people know that you're there. So yeah, that's what that does. Anyway, that's the bike. Let's go for a ride. I'm actually going to drop the saddle, go proper old school. So we've just dropped down from Triscombe and into Greatwood. It's all part of the Killer Loop, so you can follow this on the internet if you wanted to. But yeah, it's quite an eye-opener. I mean, all of that would have traditionally been done on a mountain bike. Doing it on a gravel bike definitely changes things a little bit. It's an awful lot of fun, but it's kind of like a different kind of fun because unlike a modern mountain bike at least, that would be child's play. You'll just rattle through that, it'll be absolutely nothing. But having to kind of pick your line a lot better, even through really tiny bits of terrain and like smaller bits of rock, having to pick your way through it and kind of consider what you're doing, kind of just brings a whole fresh air of riding to trails that I've done loads of times before. It's pretty cool. And then, yeah, you know, when we're doing like fire road things, it's easier going because you've got less drag from the tires. We've got some aero rims, that kind of does some things, I think. It's all new to me. And yeah, we've got larger gearing, so it does make life a bit easier. It's easier to go faster on flat stuff. But yeah, it's a different ball game descending. It's cool, it's very cool. So next up, we're gonna head up to Devil Woman's Ditch and show you the other side of the Quantocks where things get a bit more open moorlandy. But first, we are gonna go to the highest point of the Quantocks where you can see some lovely views. Admittedly, this climb isn't that steep, but it is making me wish for our videographer's e-bike. Damn. All right, so this is the highest point on the Quantock Hills, and it's rather beautiful. It's a well-earned climb, I'll tell you that, because you've got this lovely view. You can see the paths we're about to ride down. That's all the Bristol Channel. You see Wales all the way back there. And yeah, there's Hinkley Point as well, if you like your nuclear power to be over there. So definitely finding some issues with riding a gravel bike on like a mountain bike focus loop. And it's really quite surprising. This is quite difficult to climb and get up a hill. And you wouldn't have thought so. I definitely wasn't expecting it because, you know, skinnier tyres, lower profile tyres, aero rims, no suspension or squishy stuff back here, very little suspension at the front. I thought it would be like real easy going, but man, it is not because of our gears basically. So up front, we've got a 40-tooth chainring there, and that's quite big compared to mountain bikes. We do have a 12-speed drivetrain at the back with quite a big rear sprocket, but yeah, because of that front chainring, it's just definitely takes more effort to get up a hill. And when the tough gets going, man, it gets going. Of course, you're going a bit slower, so you can't really just winch yourself up. It takes actual leg strength to get the things done. But yeah, that's the only downside so far. Just bring good things to like when the terrain's flatter, because that means you can just kind of put the power down and kind of hold a higher speed with much more ease. You kind of let lesser watts and all that kind of stuff. So far, so good. Next up, we're going to head over, explore some of the actual moorland over on the Quantocks and go down this really big hill. All right, so just before we get back to the van, just wanted to check in to see how things are going. You know, the suspension fork is chilling out a lot of the kind of vibrations and making braking and grip a lot better. And the aero rims do make things a bit quicker when you're going over flatter terrain. So yeah, with all of that in mind, I am kind of feeling a little bit undergunned. Perhaps this is what old school mountain biking would feel like, but with modern kit. All right, let's get back to the car. We came all of the way to the Quantocks to ride a gravel bike with suspension to figure out if they are really just old school mountain bikes. And my conclusion is, what's the problem with that? When it comes to just chilled rides, underbiking yourself, doing something that you feel like you perhaps shouldn't and you're just on the edge of control, that's where a gravel bike like this, one that's slightly more progressive, one that's got suspension, one that's got like big squishy tires or something, that's a gap that gravel is filling, and I am all here for it. If you've enjoyed this video, feel free to give us a like. If you've got anything to say on the rant that I've just had, leave a comment in the comments below. And if you'd like to see more videos just like this, as well as a whole bunch of reviews on mountain bikes, gravel bikes, e-mountain bikes, even loads of other stuff to do with riding bikes off-road, feel free to subscribe. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.